I'm Tim Gross from PianoGenius.com, and this video is going to be about chord inversions. And the good news is what I've shown you in previous videos has halfway already set you up to be able to do this comfortably. Yay! Okay, so here's the main thing, is that there are three basic ways to play any major or minor chord. And we'll default with playing a C major, just because it's kind of easy to look at. And whenever you're playing the root note, it's called a C and the C is on the bottom, that's called the root position. So that's the first way and the default way of playing a major or a minor chord. The second way is to take your thumb and move it up to the top up here and play it like this. So I think you can see that's the same chord because the same notes are involved. It's just that we're not playing the C down here, we're playing it up here. And we call that the first inversion. And you could think of it as first because, imagine that there's a race going that way and the C note, the root note, is up in the top like it's winning, right? It's in first place. So that's how you can think of that being first inversion because we've inverted the root note up to there. And the next one is called second inversion, and that is where we take the bottom note of the major or minor chord and we switch it up to here. And in this case, the root note is right here in the middle, and that's called second inversion. And you could think of it as second inversion because, again, if it was a race going this way, he's in second place, right? Like this guy's winning and the root note's in second place. So root inversion, in general, we use our 1 and 3 and 5 fingers to play that, whether it's major or minor. Then first inversion, we use thumb and little finger, but we use our pointer second finger in the middle, which makes sense because we got a gap here. We've got 4 notes in between here, and so it would be uncomfortable to try to do that. It's too much of a stretch. So that's why we use our second finger. And then for the second inversion, we take this and put it on top. We're back to using our 1 and 3 and 5 fingers because our thumb to the middle finger, it doesn't have a problem in general with doing that stretch. Okay, so root, first inversion, second inversion, root. And it's certainly not a bad idea to sort of go over that and kind of practice getting comfortable with that. Root, and then come up and play first inversion, come up and play second inversion, and come up and play root. Now, one thing that I really want to point out here is that, you go, oh, I've got to get this finger on here, and then this other finger's got to go here, and the other finger's got to go here. I would suggest that you think of the root note as being the main note, and think of the other fingers as sort of being marionettes that are being led by the root note, okay? Meaning that in the root position, if you're going to play a C major, try playing the root note first, like going like that, and then just kind of let your fingers fall on the other two notes, like that, okay? And same thing with going to the first inversion where we're taking the root note and putting it up on top. Just think about this, and then get used to how this feels with this gap here, using your second finger and going like that. And just think of this as like the main worker, and that these are just sort of just following along for the ride, okay? And then for the second inversion, where this is in the middle, just get used to how it feels. And give most of your attention to the root note, and then let the other two notes sort of fall in. And if you're getting thrown off, you can just revert back to just playing the 1 and the 5. And then, work with this later, okay? And that position, the way it feels, is going to be the same regardless of if it's all white notes or if it's all black notes or if it's some black notes. So if we were playing D major, that looks like this, and we've got a black note in the middle, but again, the root note is still sort of driving where the other fingers are, the 1 and the 3 and the 5. And if we go to the first inversion where we take the D and we put it up on the top, by the way, a little bit of a trick here, depending, everybody's, some people have wider fingers than others, and it can get a little, crowded in here. You can try to play this A and wind up, hitting other notes. So one way I get out of that is to try to play right on the edge like this. So I've got kind of I'm sort of turned in, you know, kind of like that, and that way I can sort of, my fingers are on the side instead of using my, you know, instead of using my sort of fat finger all the way through, I'm getting sort of the side of my finger. So that's a D first inversion, and play the D first and just get used to letting this drop, because the root note is doing the work and the other two fingers are just sort of following along. And then to go to the second inversion, we're putting the D in the middle because it's in second place, and then you got to get used to what this feels. And same thing here. If you're trying to play up here, you know, you might be catching these black notes. So what I do is kind of, this time I have my hand turned out a little bit to be able to go like that. So kind of catching the white note here, trying to keep this out of the black note here and black note here. I mean, whatever's comfortable for you. But I'm just saying, if you're coming in here and you feel like you're not being able to fit, then doing this is going to help you out more. So again, that's the main point of this video, is just being able to understand what it feels like to play root position and first inversion, second inversion, and root. And you know, same thing exists for all black notes. F sharp major is all black notes, and again, this F sharp is what's driving it, and then these are falling into place basically as a claw. To go to the first inversion, we take the F sharp and you put it up on top, and we're going to be using our second finger and thumb and just kind of let them drop. And moving up to second inversion, we're putting our middle finger on the F sharp, and again, just kind of letting them drop. And the reason you may want to play these different inversions instead of just the root note just mostly has to do with the convenience of it. Because if you're playing, and we'll get into more of this in a future video, but if you're playing a C chord and you want to play a G chord, that's about as far away as you can get. You got to move your hand all the way up here to play the G, and then come all the way down here to play the C. But look at this. If you're playing a G chord, you've already got your little finger on the G, right? So if you realize that you can just go like that for a G, and that's called first inversion because the G is on the top, it's winning the race if that was a race, and then come down with your second finger, that's a G, then you can come back up to play the C. And I do think it's a good idea while you're getting used to this of playing the root note first and then letting the other two notes drop. So you got to admit that's easier, right? You're playing a C, and then if you were going to a G chord, you've already playing the G, so you just leave your little finger there and then go. So that's the reason why you want to get familiar with inversions, is because wouldn't it be nice to be able to just go like this instead of, and then go, oh, gotta go all the way up to the G and go like that. So that's the point of these inversions, and you know, it'll take a little doing to get used to, you know, moving around from root to first inversion to second inversion, but the payoff is huge. Once you get comfortable with that, you can just buzz through playing songs, and you're just good to go. So we'll continue on with all this stuff in the next video.